A few technical glitches. Jesus, 10 minutes late. Okay, cool. Well, welcome to Morning Startup. Woo! God, yeah, good. My name is Scott Glue. I'm one of the organisers at Morning Startup. There's usually another guy, Dave Newman, but we're playing tag teams with the UK at the moment. I think he flew in just as I flew out last week. So we talk about startup stuff every 2 weeks. That's what we're all about. So hopefully you're in the startup game. Who's got a company doing a startup? All right, good. I know it's early, come on. And yeah, so we run this every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine. We have a cool presenter. In this case, we're talking about the Plus Eight Accelerator. We've got Derek and Kylie Gerard here again. Derek is back for a second time in a row. So we're going to hear about how you can apply, give your startup the best chance of getting in. Hopefully you're all aware of what the Accelerator is. If not, you're going to hear all about it. But what we like to do to kick things off is to hear about what you're up to. So shameless plugs, announcements. Who's got the most hustle and can get up and just talk for 20 seconds about what they're working on? Give us a bit of an ask. There's a lot of people in the room that might be able to help you out. All right, cool.
Thanks, Scott. My name's Mark Tuchek. I founded Tuckerbush, which is a range of Australian native food plants. And last month we collaborated with Gage Roads in Freo. Any beer drinkers here? Okay, a few. And we put a native selection of gelatin wax, it's called Jambino Zest, into one of their promotional beers. And they released the beer for International Women's Day. And it's called Sunset State WA IPA. And part proceeds of the sale of the beer go to an organisation called Pink Boots Australia, which they run scholarships for females to get into the brewing industry. And so if you're into beer, check out Sunset State IPA down at Gage Roads, and it's available at all local good bottle shops and things like that. So there you go, try beer.
An excuse to buy beer, that's awesome. Anyone else? Come on, there has to be someone else.
I've got a question.
Yeah?
I've got gelatin wax in my front yard. Yep. And I've got beer in my fridge. Is it as easy as that?
No, not all gelatin wax are created equal. So there's Jambino Zest, which is a selection.
Yep.
We did a taste test of 30 different types of gelatin wax with Helix Australia, which is the main company that produces gelatin wax as a cut flavor. So you could use that one. It's probably not as nice, but yeah, Jambino Zest it's called. Google it.
Give it a shot, I say. Can't go wrong. All right, anyone else? Shameless plugs? All right, great. Good on ya.
What I need to do, what I do is enroll, right?
Yeah, tell us what you do.
Yeah, good morning everyone. My name is Ash and I do animation and visual effects. Currently working on a commercial for a cat. Like I need to understand their behavior, how they react, and everything is different about them. It's just like studying. I had cats for 5 years, but at the meantime, I didn't know much about them. Like when you work on them, how they work, how they walk and jump and all that. Every cat is different if you put them in different situations. So it's pretty, creative.
So
Thank you.
For people with cats that can...
For now, it's YouTube and Facebook's plenty. But at the meantime, I do main work for safety animation videos in mining industries.
Okay.
In 3D, yeah.
So people need animations?
Yeah, for them, yeah.
You can help them out?
Yeah, great, I can.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, good one.
Why don't I get to the challenge? Rolly Kumar, great to meet you all. I was here last time, so I never actually knew that Morning Startup existed. So fantastic. I've actually been in the innovation space for a long time, but you learn new things all the time. So I'm part of Varex Pharma. This is my little, new venture. I used to work at UWA before this and part of the innovation team there. Varex Pharma is developing novel antiviral therapies for respiratory diseases. Now, I don't need to tell you why this is important. We've all gone through a pandemic and we know what the significance of that is and why we need these things. But yeah, just wonderful to connect with all of you. Cheers.
Thanks for coming. I'm glad you now know we exist. Who else didn't know Morning Startup existed until recently? Okay, I've got work to do. Yeah, we're terrible at promoting ourselves. But okay, any other shameless plugs, announcements? One more. All right, let's do it.
Thanks. My name's Alex. First time coming. I only heard about this a couple of days ago. My online startup, it's EdTech or online education with a mate, Learn in 30. We teach every topic in 30 pitches or less, so sort of condensed, bite-sized education. We want to partner with schools and educational institutions and grow, not just do curriculum, STEM, school-based subjects, but hobbies, brewing beer, whatever else comes to mind. We just want to create a platform where we can just teach everyone on the web.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a Khan Academy, but
like
better?
Khan Academy? Yeah, but better, exactly.
All right, cool. Well done. Okay, we're also going to have about half an hour of networking at the end. We've got some food at the back as well, so please get to know each other. That's really where the morning startup magic happens. You know, had lots of stories of people meeting their co-founders and stuff here. So we also do this, Founder Sundowner, first Wednesday of every month. If you're not a morning person, you have kids or whatever, and you just like beer, come down to the pub and have a chat with other startup founders. Now I forgot to put up their banner again. I'll do that later. So Ammo Marketing, sorry Cam, watching on the live stream. So Ammo Marketing, please go and subscribe to their Weird Growth podcast. They're also great guys. They know their crap around growth marketing. So if you've got a startup, need to hit the accelerator, go and check them out, please. Also Beecham Group. They are IT recruitment specialists. So if you are looking to hire people, especially in IT, hit them up. Or if you've got talent and you need a gig, go and hit up Glenn as well. Very well connected. And like I said, we've got some food at the back, and that's thanks to these guys, Keep Space. Is anyone in the e-commerce game, shipping goods around the place? Cool. All right, so these guys can help you out with logistics. They've got a warehouse here in Perth and a warehouse in Melbourne. They've got a really cool online platform to help you manage that inventory and do it all in a nice, seamless way. So yeah, get around, Keep Space, a nice local company to help you out with the logistics problem. And last but not least, actually not last either, the New Industries Fund by the Department of Innovation, Science, Technology and all cool stuff. They are providing us the live streaming. So I know you all got here, which is awesome. You got here in the morning. I don't want to say you don't need to because there's a live stream, because this is, you get to meet people and everyone. But if you can't make it here in person, you can check out the live stream. All of these recordings are also available after the fact. And that's thanks to the Department of Innovation and the New Industries Fund. So thank you very much. And also these awesome people. So if you're new to the startup space, get around these folks. Startup News and Tech Board, go and subscribe to their things. You'll learn about what's happening in the startup community. Also Tech Board, about funding events and all of that stuff. Startup WA, become a member. It's free. And then you'll learn about what the state government is doing to really help our industry and everything that they're doing there. Spacecubed, they own this place and 3 other places down the road. So if you need a place to work, hit up Spacecubed. And you're going to hear about Plus8 in just a moment, so I'll leave them. You can find us, Morning Startup, on all the things. Always looking for interesting speakers, feedback, all of that stuff. If you've got anything that you want to share with the Perth startup community, hit us up. That's what we love doing. So Morning Startup on all the things, or shoot us an email, contact@morningstartup.com. In 2 weeks' time, like I said, we run this every 2 weeks. We've got 2 gentlemen here, near the front, that are going to talk to us in 2 weeks' time. Running a startup's kind of hard, right? You feel like you're failing every single day. And just, especially if you had like a massive failure, like you didn't win that contract or whatever, like how do you get up the next day and just go, I just got to keep going? That's what these guys are going to help you do, right? Help get into the mindset of what is required from a startup founder day after day, and some little techniques that you can use to sort of hack your own psychology and get out of bed every single day. So really important stuff. Come along and get some strategies for overcoming setbacks and stagnation. How's that pitch? Is there anything else I should add to that? No, it's perfect. All right, cool. All right, and that is formalities out of the way. It's never old. Okay, but let's get going. So here we have Kylie and Derek Gerard. They probably need no introduction. I know Derek has been in this room doing this thing for every day for the last 2 weeks, I think. But who here has heard of the Plus Eight Accelerator? Everyone? Who here hasn't heard of the Plus Eight Accelerator? Okay, all right. Can I hear all? Yes, please go and change the thing over. All right, I'll give them the quick pitch just while we're getting the slide deck up. You can apply to the Plus Eight. They'll give you money, they'll invest in your company, and they'll take you around the world to meet interesting, cool people and teach you to be a better entrepreneur. That's my elevator pitch. They're going to give you a much better one. So please make them welcome, Kylie and Derek Gerard.
Thanks, Scott. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for coming this morning. And big thank you to Scott and Dave and the Morning Startup team. These guys have been faithfully coming here on Wednesday mornings for more years than we would care to remember, but just how much you invest in the startup community. So thank you. It's awesome what you do. And I just wanted to let you all know, just to make you feel better, we've had a technical glitch this morning, which has meant that unfortunately our newest sponsor, who is here today, Adam, from Adapt by Design, their logo kind of fell off the bottom of my slide deck. So welcome on board, and it's great to have you here. And if you did want to chat with Adam afterwards, it's great to have you on board as our newest partner this year. So, couple of bits of information for you all. From a Spacecubed point of view, they've been running now for 11 years, and this year is actually going to be the 7th year of the Plus Eight Accelerator program, which is pretty exciting. So we've had a huge number of cohorts go through, and a lot of those have gone on to do incredible things. But they also do a lot of other things. So has anyone here been through any of the Spacecubed programs? Whether it's a sprint or, yep, one. Wow, well done. I thought it would be more than that. So one thing I did want to say to you all this morning, when Scott gave you the opportunity to stand up and promote yourself, which we would also call pitching, you need to get more comfortable with that. So if you become part of the Plus Eight program, pitching just becomes part of how you talk about your business. You'll be able to do it in an elevator with someone, thus the elevator pitch, when you chat with someone. But I just encourage you, every opportunity you get to stand up, you don't know who's in this room who, in hearing 30 seconds about what you do, could partner with you, help you, be your customer, help you grow. So jump on board the opportunities to tell us about your business. Okay, so track record, like we said, been going for 6 years. This will be the 7th. And so far there are 37 companies that have been invested in, 2 million of program investment, 16 million of follow-on investment, and the current portfolio value is 104 million. That's pretty incredible for 6 years of an accelerator running. And here are the logos of last year's cohort. So we had, now, for those of you who don't know, and I'll go into it a bit more in a moment, we have phase 1 and phase 2 of the program. These are phase 2. So these are the companies that get through and share in the investment funding, which everybody who joins Plus Eight is hoping to be a part of. So of all these companies here, the thing I would encourage you, they're all going really well. They're all still in community. They're encouraging each other on the journey. How many people in this room are sole founders? Okay, how often does that journey get lonely? Yeah, quite often. It's nice to be able to say to someone else who's in the same shoes, hey, have you been through this? Are you going through this? What did you do? It's one of the really big values of the program is the community that you get to be a part of. Okay, so this is just really quickly all of the companies that have gone through in the previous 5 years leading up to last year. And here's the question you're all here asking. What's in it for you? Why would you apply to be part of Plus Eight? Well, I would say the number one reason, that absolute number one reason, is to accelerate the growth of your business. So regardless of where you're at, whether you're pre-revenue, whether you've already got revenue, I would say most companies have some revenue starting, but not all of them. And in fact, last year, 2 companies that got through to phase 2 were pre-revenue. What I would say is that's atypical, not typical, and it was because their ideas were things that our investor group really wanted to get behind, the innovation, and believed that the acceleration they could have in the program would lead to phenomenal growth afterwards. So regardless of where you are on the journey, there's something you can get from Plus8. So the first thing you'd love to get from Plus8 is a share of the $450,000 investment pool. So basically what happens with that is you come in phase 1, that goes for 3 months, and then you'll pitch to be part of phase 2. As a really rough idea, we tend to take about 24 people into our boot camp, which I'll tell you a little bit about afterwards. Then about half of those we select for phase 1, and then about half of those make it through to phase 2, which is how you end up with about 6 companies making it through to phase 2. And at the phase 2 pitch, what we're really looking at is who has grown the most from the beginning of phase 1 to the end. So you're not all compared to your current level of growth, you're compared to how much you've grown as a business, because that's what we're trying to do, is assess how well you can accelerate your business. Now, the other thing that you get, and if you ask anyone who's been through it before, is weekly masterclasses. So these are sessions with experts from around the industry on things from business models to... You weren't kidding. Hey, am I marketing? From business models, how you price things, how to understand valuations, how to build a team, what company culture looks like everything that is involved in having a successful business. And one of the things that we got comments on last year was the fact that people found those masterclasses literally came into play exactly as they were wondering how they do that part of their business. So we do time strategically when we bring these things in. The other thing that is a really key part is our mentor network. Now, obviously, they're not all going to be, that's some examples of the weekly masterclasses. But with our mentors, they have obviously... Clicker not working now. Can you become my... Oh, now. So our mentors obviously vary from year to year, but basically every afternoon you will get a session with a mentor that you can personalise for their expertise. So you could have people that are coming and chatting to you who their whole area... For example, one of our mentors is Cam from Ammo, and he might come in and talk to you about how you can, what's your strategy for your digital side of your business? How are you marketing your business? And these are just one-on-one sessions that you get with these guys every week at the end of the day. A fantastic part. And what I would encourage you is when you connect really well with one of them, often they're then happy to catch up with you outside of that as well. Some might charge, but not always. The other thing that we have, which is, I would say, the highlight for almost everybody that becomes part of Plus8, is our immersive trip. Now, last year we went to Singapore, and this was an incredibly funky shop house that we got to go and have an angels session in. So our guys got to pitch to a group of Singapore angels for investment. But one of the things about the immersive trips, not only does it obviously build huge connection between the cohort, but it also exposes you to other regions that you could look to expand into, to understand how they work there, and to make connections there. We were meeting with some of the top VCs up in Singapore. Now, I would say the location's not 100% set for this year. We are looking at London. However, we're obviously going to wait until we have the teams that are part of it to also work out what's the best location to take them to for that to be a growth opportunity. So, but there will be an immersive trip, and if you make it through to boot camp, we'll talk more about what's involved in that as far as your financial contribution, our financial contribution, etc. But what I would say is, if you're in phase 2, you can also use the investment you've received as a contribution to you going on the trip. So you don't have to have those funds separate to yourself. So then the other things that I would say are fantastic about this is you actually get to work out of a co-working space. So Plus8 runs on every Monday, and I'll go through all the dates in a moment, but you also do have access to stay in that co-working space outside of those days while the program is on. And that's a huge benefit to a business. So you can just come in and sit with other companies that are at whole different levels to you and be part of this incredible community. Chanel here, who is amazing and works on the Plus8 program with us, is full-time at Spacecubed. And I'm sure you would say, like, the community that is built there and the way they support each other and the way that they're there to help each other, just immersing yourself in that and having that throughout the year is an incredible opportunity as well. And then there's the alumni network. So I put up the screen before of all the people that have been through Plus8 before. What's great, and don't worry, if you get through, we call on you in following years as well, is coming back and building into the years that are going through, because we can introduce you to full companies that are like 10 years old, but what's really helpful is connecting with a company that's 2 years ahead of you or 1 year ahead of you and going, hey, what happened when you hit this hurdle? What happened? How did you overcome that? Let us know what, when you left Plus8, was some of the things that you would be your top tips for the next year going really well. And these guys come in and they invest in you as well. Some even come as mentors. And it's just a really great community that's beyond just your current cohort, but involving people who have been in the years before you. Okay, so a couple of important dates for you. Who here has already started an application for Plus8? Wow. Okay, so we have 96 applications in at the moment, and not one of them is from you guys. Okay. So here's 2 things I would encourage you in. Get your application in well before the 26th. If you're sitting here going, oh, it's okay, there's a public holiday before then, I'll get it done. We even look at when applications go in. Don't run your business that everything's last minute. Even if it's the weekend before, give yourself time that if a question comes up and you don't have a suitable answer yet, you've got a couple of days to put that together. Okay, it's like being back in high school. Don't cram the night before the exam. Get your application in. Boot camp. Basically what we do is applications close on the 26th. We have 2 weeks to review them, and there's a team of us that does that. And then on the 8th, you will be called to let you know, or an email, that you've made it through to boot camp and whether you'll accept that offer. Boot camp this year is on, so we do a drink on the Thursday night that's more of a connection time, and then on the Friday all day is the boot camp. So I'd encourage you to make sure you already have that date in your diary. When you go online to fill out the application form, these dates are there again, but good to get in your diary. And then what we do, because we like to be really founder-friendly, is the Monday straight after boot camp, we will call you to tell you whether or not you've been selected for the program. It's no point making you wait. That's our whole thing. You've come, you've let us know, straight away we'll get back to you. And then a month later, the program starts. Now you might go, wow, a month, that's a really long time. Well, we do a lot of due diligence so that as you're coming into the program, if you were to make it through to phase 2, we already have most of what we need before you're joining the program. So that's when we'll be asking you for relevant documents that you've got, just going through various information, if anything came up in legals, that sort of stuff. So basically you can start the program ready to go, that if you get into phase 2, we all know if there's anything that's going to need to be dealt with during that process. Yep, does that make sense? Okay, so program timelines. As I said, we start on June 26th and then you pitch for investment on August 28th, so about 3 months later. Then phase 2 starts on September 18th. We do an immersive trip, and that will be the week of the 9th of October. That, honestly, is one of the highlights. Now, if you have multiple founders in your company, this is important for me just to note, you only need to commit for one of you to be part of the program, but what we do ask is, can it be the same person? So you can have another founder that pops in and out at certain masterclasses or things like that, but our touch point every week needs to be the same person. And then, who here was at West Tech Fest last year? Yes? Who was at the demo night? Yeah? I'm glad you were there, Chanel. So demo night, as you would have seen with West Fest, there are a huge community that gather there, and demo night we always do as part of West Fest to give you the highest exposure to broad investors. And that's a night where you all get to get up and truly pitch your company for money, because it's the end of the program. You might not be looking for money at that time, but even if you're letting people know about your company and saying we might not do a capital raise until next year, it's your chance to be on a public stage and expose the world to your company. And it's fantastic. It's an awesome night. Okay, so a couple of application tips, and then we're going to hand over to Derek shortly. Please answer every question. I know you're probably thinking that's obvious. Yes, you would think so, but some people don't. It makes our job so much easier if you give us all the information we've asked for. As part of your application, you will be asked to do a 90-second pitch video. 2 things. Please don't go over 90 seconds and go, oh, but if I had 5 minutes, they would understand my company so much more. We will stop watching it at 90 seconds to keep it fair for everybody. If you're 5 seconds over or something, that's fine. But please remember, 95 applications, 95 videos. If any are a lot more than that, it doesn't go in your favour. So 90 seconds. But I would also say this just needs to be your iPhone videoing you. You don't need to go out and create a masterpiece video. It's so helpful for us to see a face and hear you talk about your company. Now, this is a really important one. Talk to us like we don't know your business, okay? It might be really obvious to you. It might be something you've been doing for years, but explain your business in a way that if we didn't understand it, we will at the end. Yep. And here's the other part. Please keep it interesting. Like I said, we're reading 95 applications. You want yours to stand out. So when you describe your business, describe it in a way that's going to get us excited, because let's be honest, you've chosen out of anything you could do in the world to grow this business. So when you explain it to us, explain it in a way of why you're excited and why you've made this your life cause. And then, hopefully, you'll get to come and be a part of the accelerator. So now I'm going to hand over to Derek, and he's going to tell you what we're looking for in founders and companies.
Thanks, Kylie. Morning, everyone. I'm not a morning person, and this is the second time in 2 weeks I've been at Morning Startup. But anyway, and Kyle and I were here for an event last night, and I didn't think there would be anyone that was here last night and today, but there is, Hayley. And I wore the same clothes. So don't forgive me. I went home, went to bed, threw the clothes on the floor, got up, put them back on and came. So we should have stayed overnight. This is my... I did shower, yeah. This is my 5th year as the entrepreneur in residence for Plus Eight. And so it's been great every year seeing the growth and the new investors and sponsors that have come on, and the various things that we have matured in as the accelerator's grown. A couple of things I'd just say before I give you a couple of ideas of the things we're looking for is what's been great the last few years, particularly having Better Labs as one of the program investors, is if you think about it, they're getting a small investment if you make it through to the funding phase. But myself, in previous years, and that team, we've worked together with you over a 6-month period. It's kind of like the best form of due diligence we can do. You get to meet them and they get to meet you. But then what happens is those companies that have probably performed the best through the whole program that are looking for funding, we normally write a pretty quick check. So in previous years, there's always been 2 or 3 companies that have gone on from Plus Eight, and then actually most of them end up raising $1 million by the end of the year. This year you've got Better Labs, but also some of you will be familiar, Kyle and I, just to kind of clarify things, we've also set up a new venture capital fund called Purpose Ventures. And so we're going to be working with you through the course of this year. And again, if it's the right fit for us, we'll be able to write a pretty quick check. So that's a benefit that sometimes you forget. It's all the mentoring and networking and immersive trip, but one of the main reasons for Plus Eight is to actually get you investor ready. And to know now in Perth, unlike in, if we went back 4 or 5 years, it wasn't like this. You can go through the program and then find yourself actually being able to raise your kind of first seed round around about $1 million is, a really important part of your accelerated growth. So I'm just going to go through a few things. You can think about this when you're putting your application in. As Kylie said, we've already had 96 applications. That doesn't include people in the room tonight. We'd normally get around about 100 or so come in. And what we're trying to do is pick in the vicinity of, say, 20, maybe 24 that come along to boot camp. So it is a highly competitive process to get to that point. So you obviously want to give yourself the best shot. So definitely think about some of the things Kylie's been saying and a couple of things I'm about to mention to try and give yourself the best shot at getting in. Right, and I don't have words, I just like pictures. Well, I don't quite like this one anymore because it's a bunch of middle-aged blokes, but anyway, you get the point. So the first thing is your team. That's what we're going to be looking at. So we're trying to find a group of people that are the best people to solve the problem you're working on. And the way we think about it, there's kind of 3 skills that are pretty important. One is, what's the depth of industry knowledge you've got based on the industry that you're working in? What's what we would call the technical skills that you've got? Now, when I say technical, it doesn't, not all businesses are software. I don't mean technology like that. But if you think about it, you're probably doing something that's innovative, and that innovation is probably something that creates the defensibility strategy of your company. So we're looking for the technical skills that relate to the innovation that you're working on. And then the final thing is commercial skills. At the end of the day, a business, you need to think about your legals, your accounting, your negotiation, your contracts. And so what skills have you got? Now, as a startup, it may well be you're a sole founder and you don't necessarily have all those skills. That's okay. But what we're looking for is how are you addressing those? How are you thinking about building your team, or making sure that you're aware that if you've got a gap, that's the gap that you've got, so that Plus8 might be the program that helps you find the people that you need. So definitely there's a section on team. One of the things for Colin and I, and most people that are trying to support the startup industry, early stage investing is all about the founding team. Like, we're going to read about your business, your market, your pricing, your product, all those things. But the reality is, a lot of that's wrong. And not because you're making a mistake. That's the point of being a startup, is you don't know those things and you're on this journey of trying to figure out what your business model is and what's the right product market fit. And so what's really important is backing the people that have the perseverance, the resilience, and the skills that are required to go on that journey and overcome those hurdles. So that's a lot of what we're trying to look at, is going, hey, are you the right person to back? Why are you the person that's going to win that market? The other way to think about it is, and again, this is actually why our venture fund is called Purpose Ventures. It's about trying to align with what your purpose is. And so the way we think about it is, if you're solving a problem that's kind of like, you've got this life cause, it's almost like, this is what I was built for. And this is what I'm going to chase after in my life. That's what we're trying to connect with. Because when things get tough, if this is something that you almost have this bigger calling to solve, you're going to get out of bed every morning and chase after this thing, because it's like your life's work. And so if we can kind of hear that or see that in the application, and see this as something you've been thinking about and working on for a long time, and now you're launching a business around that, that puts you in really good stead to go, hey, we think these are the right kind of founders to back. So really important that you give us that kind of picture. I always have to remind myself what the picture is for. Okay, this is, you need to keep your boat afloat. So what we mean by this is, when you come into the program, one of the questions you're going to get asked in the application is, have you got enough funding to get yourself through the entirety of the program, and ideally beyond? So in the very, very early days of Plus8, we didn't actually ask this question. Without us realising, what was happening is, people were applying for the program, they'd take our money, they'd use that money to see if they could get the company going, and then if not, walk away from it. And that's obviously not good use of our funding. And so there's a few things we do now. The first thing is, you can spend the money, if you get through to the funding phase, basically on anything apart from funding yourself. So you can staff, marketing, product development, whatever, but you can't use it for your own salary. You need to have made sure that you've thought about your own personal cash flow, and that's kind of like your own investment in your business anyway, to make sure you can get through that. As Kylie mentioned, it's okay to use some of that funding if you need to get on the immersive trip, especially if we end up going into London. We've just been looking, it's obviously pretty expensive, and there's a reason why we're thinking about London this year, but we obviously want to make sure you can use the money for that. But so you need to think about how am I funding my own business? And it's kind of interesting because I've been doing this. Once my company sold, it was about 10 years ago. So for 10 years, been working with founders and thousands of companies. And one of the reasons companies don't make it actually isn't about your product, your market, your price, your funding or anything. It's actually just the personal cash flow. People kind of think they're going to get their business going within 6 months or 12 months, and it doesn't usually happen that way, and you just run out of your own money and you can't feed your family and look after yourself. And so being prepared for that ahead of the accelerator is a really important part of that. How you choose to do that, if you are bootstrapping and you've got a job you're working on a couple of days a week, or you've got some savings, or you take a line of credit on your mortgage, however you choose to do that's kind of up to you, but we're going to get you to contractually sign that you are fine in terms of your personal cash flow through the rest of this year. We can take questions at the end, by the way, in case you want any of that clarified. Okay, this is the agreement. At the very start of the program, if you make it through to phase 1, we're going to ask you to sign an agreement which basically says, hey, I'm going to show up on Mondays, I'm going to do a bunch of things, but one of the things you're pre-signing is that you agree to the terms of our safe note. If you then get into phase 2, you would sign that safe note. I'll explain what that is in a moment. But we need to make sure that before you get into phase 1, you're prepared to sign it. So again, one of the learnings we had is people would get into the program, we'd offer them the safe note, and then they'd go, I don't want to sign that, or I don't like those terms, and then someone else would have missed out on the opportunity. So we give you the safe note as part of, right at the start. I think if you get through boot camp, you'll see that you can review that, you can get your lawyers or advisors or whoever to check that, but you're basically signing that says, if I get made an offer in phase 2, I will sign and agree to those terms. So what's the safe note? It stands for a simple agreement for future equity. It's a very founder-friendly instrument that was designed by the world's largest accelerator program called Y Combinator. And effectively what we're doing is saying, we're going to make an investment in your business. Now, we're going to give you the money now so you can use that and you can get on and grow. But we don't want to get stuck trying to pre-agree valuations and things. All we're going to do is say, you've got the money, and if you have a qualifying financing round within 2 years, we'll just convert our money at that valuation at a discount rate of 50%. So just to explain a little bit more, as Kylie's already mentioned, we've got a pool of $450,000. However many companies we take into the funding phase of the program, phase 2, it's 450,000 divided by that many companies. So for ease of calculation, if we took 5 companies, you would get $90,000. If we took 10 companies, it's $45,000. So it's somewhere in that vicinity. You get given that money within the first week of phase 2. And then if you have a qualifying financing round, what that means is you raise money within 2 years of finishing the program, and that raise is more than $200,000, and the value of the company is more than $2 million. Then what happens is that amount, let's call it $50,000, converts to equity, and the 50% discount means that the $50,000 effectively looks like a $100,000 investment in that same round. Now, the reason it's 50% is effectively it means you're not paying for anything in that program. So the space, the mentors, the people, Kylie said you'll clarify a fair lot of question once you get into the program, but basically you probably pay for your flights and maybe a little bit of accommodation depending on where we go, but everything else in the immersive trip is covered, all the food and activities and transport and things like that. So a lot of value that's added. Now, other accelerator programs sometimes actually get you to pay that up front, or they make that a loan in the company. And we've just found this is a more effective way where you don't have to kind of cough up with all of that. But obviously, our investors and sponsors are paying for that. And so that's that way of kind of recouping that based on the discount rate of the safe note. Very, very common structure. And again, I can take questions on that if you've got more questions. But you do need to know that that'll be something you have to agree to before you come into the program. Next thing that's really important, this is customers or traction. So some people misunderstand PlusEight and think, oh, that's just for really, really early companies. To be honest, the best type of company that comes into our program is one that's already got product in market, and ideally you've already got revenue and customers. Now, as Kylie mentioned, you don't have to be at that stage. It's very typical that we would take 1 or 2 companies that are really early and pre-revenue, and we'll back you and we'll try and get you going. But to be honest, often those companies don't get the most value out of the program. And the reason is that every week, as Kylie was saying, you've got these topics of building team, pricing strategy, raising capital, product development, product roadmap, whatever. And if you've got a product in market and a bit of a team, you're going to actually be able to apply most of those things as we go, as where for other people it's just not at that stage of the company. So when you're putting your application in, the best form of traction, in our view, is one paying customer. Even if that one paying customer pays $1 for your widget, it's kind of de-risked part of your business model. All the assumptions you've got, we can look at and go, actually, yeah, there's a market here, there's a business here, there's people that want your product. Now, if you don't have revenue, then you definitely have to think about how am I going to demonstrate I've got some form of traction or customer interaction or demand for my product, and it's not just an idea. If you're just at an idea stage, then you definitely are too early for Plus Eight Accelerator program. There's other programs around. Plus Eight, we do a precursor program called Plus Eight Sprint, so you might want to consider that. And there's some other programs around in the ecosystem that you can find out about. They're probably better for you to consider so that you can get your business to a point where you're ready to accelerate. You kind of need a little bit of the engine in place and humming so that you can accelerate and get the benefit of this program. So traction's really important. And then I think this is the final one before I take some questions, is large markets. So at the end of the day, the Plus Eight program is about venture backable companies. So what I mean by that is you could build a great company and that company might, maybe do $2, $5, $10, $20 million revenue, and it'll be a great company for your family. You can send the kids to private school, you can go on a few luxury cruises a year or something, but it's just enough for your family. And that's a great business and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not the kind of company we're looking to back. We're looking for companies that have got their eye on large markets. You don't have to be global from day one, but you've got to be thinking about a business that can, whatever investment you take in every round, you're at least 10xing the size of that investment. The network we have of investors we're going to introduce you to might start with angels in the small check size, but ultimately we're going to be getting you in front of all the larger VC funds, either in Australia or whatever network makes sense for you, and they're really looking for 10x style returns. So when you come in and you're thinking about your application, you've got to talk about this ambition that you've got and your sense of this large market that you're really going after and you're going to win. So that's an important part. So lots of things we could say. Let me pause and we'll take, I think we've got about 10 minutes for questions. No question is a silly question. And someone else is probably thinking about it, so fire away. And Kylie might be able to help as well. So, yeah, Rolly.
I'm just interested.
Oh, get the mic, yeah.
Just for the live stream, cheers.
Yeah. Thank you. Hi. I'm interested, I'm obviously in the biotechnology field. Will this apply for biotech companies or biopharmaceutical companies?
It's interesting because I think I like to say yes, and obviously there's plenty of principles that will. We're not really industry focused, and across the years we've had companies from all sorts of industries, and at the end of the day, running a business, there's industry specific things, but there's a lot of commonalities. The things of I've got to commercialise my product, I've got to protect that product through defensibility, I've got to build a team, I've got to deal with the team dynamics, I've got to think about pricing. So there's a lot of generic stuff that is absolutely relevant. The one thing I'd say about biotech is there are specific biotech accelerators around, and at the moment Perth Biodesign's kicking off. And I think that industry, there's often a long pathway to market, and health is another program that's running at the moment that's got a program. And without putting a downer on Plus Eight, I think those programs would be a little bit more beneficial for you because the commercialisation pathway of biotech is a lot longer and there's a lot of regulations that require FDA approvals, and there's people there that are just more averse in that process. So I think you've got to look at it and go, if you're like the skill set of our team, we've been through that commercialisation journey before and we know how to get our TGA or FDA approval, but what we really need is that just good business hygiene, business skills, growth, venture access, then Plus Eight would be a great fit. If you've not gone through the biotech commercialisation pathway before, don't have that skill in your team, I'd probably say they might be better considering.
Because they'd have more industry-specific mentors and things like that as well. That's probably the one area where we're more generic.
Yeah. That said, there was a company last year called OneBase. They had a product which is around hyperbaric oxygen chambers, and that product needs FDA approval, and they came through it, and if you spoke to them, they would speak so highly of the program. It's been hugely beneficial for them. So that might be something, if I can put you in touch with Andrew and Faye if you want to have a chat about their experience. So, yeah.
Hi, thanks for the amazing presentation. So I run a HR tech SaaS startup, and I wanted to ask, like, how much more than the money, how much should you help to support getting to partnerships and things like that? For example, we're doing it for construction, mining, and etc. And I'm looking at Woodside already, and partners like that. Do you support beyond the money in terms of getting to
100%.
customers?
Yeah. So Kylie mentioned about our mentoring network, and we have hundreds of people that circle around the PlusEight program, some that come and do masterclasses, some that be your mentors, and then just people that we're connected to. And companies like Woodside are involved in this program to get exposure to innovation and new business models and new ways of thinking. So Rob Affleck, who's the representative from Woodside, actually will be one of the mentors. You'll meet him. He'll be at a lot of the events, and if he thinks there's opportunity for you to be able to leverage your technology inside his organisation, he'll literally introduce you to the right people. But it's not, again, it's those people plus the people that they know. It's not our job to sell your product, but if you're there going, hey, I need to talk to 2 or 3 new channel partners, and we know someone, we absolutely will introduce you. That's the whole point. So, yep.
More questions?
Paul?
Yeah, so this might be a side question, but with your VC fund, what kind of companies are you in line with what you're looking for, and what kind of things do you look for there?
Sure. Obviously today, that was last night's session, not this morning's session, but I can answer that quickly. So, yeah, just so it's clear for people, historically, I've been running the Better Labs Venture Fund. I've now left that role. James Edwards, who's the CEO of Better Labs, is continuing that, and they're involved in the Plus Eight program. The Plus Eight Accelerator is a program owned and run by Spacecubed, and Kyle and I work on behalf of Spacecubed to run that program, and we're doing that this year. And then, if you haven't seen, part of the reason I've left Better Labs is that we've been backed by a number of investors and have launched a new venture capital fund in Perth called the Purpose Ventures Fund. It's the first of its kind in WA. We've needed venture capital for a long time. It's a $37 million fund as of today, money in the bank ready to invest. The high-level answer is we're early-stage investors. We're looking for anything from pre-seed to Series B rounds. We invest from $500,000 to $3 million. We're industry agnostic, although we do have a 15% carve-out for health-related investments. One of the reasons that we're able to get that fund away is because of our involvement in Plus Eight. If you think about it, investors are saying, hey, do you have access to deal flow of investments? And when we say, hey, yeah, one of the things we do is we run this program. Every year we get 100 people apply for the program. We whittle it down to 24 and then to 12 and finally 6. And then we work with those 6 companies for the best part of the year. What we can do is think of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, depending on alignment, and we can make a quick investment. That's actually a really important part of the journey for us as a fund. All that is good news for you guys. It means you get to do due diligence on us, we get to do due diligence on you, and if there's a fit at the end of the program, we're going to be wanting to make a pretty quick investment in your business. Literally right now, from the companies that went through Plus Eight last year, we're in the final stages of due diligence with one of those, which we're hoping is going to be the first investment that Purpose Ventures makes. And so the alignment between Spacecubed, Plus Eight and Purpose Ventures is really strong. Brodie McCulloch, who's the founder of Spacecubed, is one of the venture partners in our fund. So that role is about helping us find investors, find deal flow, support companies. So it's really strong alignment. But obviously today is very much around just the Plus Eight program, but happy to connect around that after.
Besides yourself and Kylie, who are going to be, besides you two, who are going to be viewing the 90-second pitch video?
So Chanel, Kyle and I primarily go through that. Brodie probably will take a look this year. So it's the 4 of us, and we will make the decision on just between the 4 of us who comes into boot camp. So once you get to boot camp, actually let Kylie explain.
I would also add, though, whilst we'll select who comes to boot camp, has that just gone off? How did I turn it off? That was clever.
It's not working.
Just going off. Oh, there we are. Now we're back on. Everyone who is choosing who comes into the program can access those as well. So whilst we'll make the selection who comes to boot camp, those pitch videos might help people assessing you leading into boot camp once the 24 have been selected, so that they've got an idea about you. Because basically once we select the 24, the partners who are deciding on you will get the details of your pitch before that. And then on the day, that's decided by everybody who's in the room at the boot camp. And that makes up, so Chanel, Derek, myself, all of the investing partners. So a representative from each of the companies will be assessing you on the day. We also have people looking at you from different angles. So there's a legals angle, there's actually a business angle, an accounting angle. We also have a room that's alumni, because they can look, having been through the program, and go, actually, we think these guys are a really good fit. We have people who specialise in business models. And so they'll each be asking you questions on the day that help assess whether you're a good fit and whether or not they think Plus8's going to be great for you.
Just one thing I like about that and leading into boot camp. A couple of quick things that are really important for you to understand. Even going through the application process, even if you don't get through, it's a good thing for you to do, to have to think about how you present your company that way. And then boot camp, I think Kylie mentioned this before, but just to explain, you have the drinks on the Thursday night. Friday, it's fun, but it is full on. You are in back-to-back sessions with all of the different groups that she mentioned, and they're all asking different. So the product group will ask about your product development and protection and things. There'll be an accounting's asking about your business model, legals about your legals, and you'll be exhausted at the end of the day. But you're learning through that day. Like, a lot of people come out of that and go, man, I hadn't even thought about that. Or people that are just asking questions, they'll then try and give you some thoughts or some advice. So even if you get to boot camp and don't get through, it's still an incredibly valuable experience. And then, as Kylie said, at the end of that day, if you make it, you have a drink, and while you're having a drink, we sit in the room and we make the decision. And then we come out, we know who's in, and we're not going to tell you until Monday, because we just need to sit on it for 24 hours. But the other thing I wanted to say is that if you apply and you don't get in, or if you get to boot camp and you don't get in, please understand that's not necessarily a reflection on the fact that you have an amazing business. We're looking for some very, very specific criteria that just meet our way of doing things, that meets the criteria of Plus8. And just because we say no, like as a founder, you're going to get lots of no's from customers, from investors, from all sorts of things. And that's just part of the resilience. So please don't take our no as, you know, this isn't the right company for me to work on. It's just part of the journey. So I think that's...
One other thing, sorry. Just one thing to prepare you for boot camp, and can we just encourage this? Know the details about your business. Like, we're going to ask you your numbers. We're going to ask you, like, if your pre-revenue a little bit different, but know about your model. Know those things so that when we ask you, you have answers. Like, prepare for boot camp. And then can I add one other thing on that? If that thing doesn't have an answer yet, or you don't know it, say that. Like, don't make stuff up at boot camp. Just be transparent and say, yep, I recognise that's an area I need to grow in. I haven't got that yet. Now, if you have that as the answer to every question, we're probably going to be like, not great. But be honest with us, know what you should know, and be okay admitting the things you're not there yet on. Because we're better knowing where you're at, because that helps us know how we can help you. Cool.
Okay, right. Is there one or two final questions?
I think we have one here.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Ben from Solar Energy Robotics. I was just wondering if you could draw on some of your experience raising funding for Purpose Ventures and what's happened with Silicon Valley Bank and what's happened over the US with the tech industry as a whole. Did you have any challenges raising funds? Or can you shed some light on that for us? Around timing for us launching and what the forecast is for the cycles coming ahead?
There's a lot to say in that question. So, a couple of things. So, you're probably seeing in the market at the moment, like it's being talked about even before Silicon Valley Bank, what's called the VC winter. It's just cyclical. Like, valuations got really, really frothy in the US. You were getting 20 times revenue as a multiple value on the business, and that just can't be sustained. And so it's convenient for VCs to have a winter so they can reset valuations and get better buying opportunities, and that's kind of what's happening. It's just market conditions. That's, in my view, not related to Silicon Valley Bank and what happened there. At the end of the day, they're a bank. They have deposit accounts, and it's an American system that's slightly faltered again. And so I wouldn't necessarily connect those two, although there's market conditions that relate to that. In terms of that impacting us raising money, it's going to look like we didn't have that many problems, but you've got to keep in mind, I've been doing this for 10 years before I was able to raise the capital, and some of the relationships with investors we had were 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So we actually only opened our round for 6 weeks, from February 8th to March the 22nd, and we raised the $37 million in that 6 weeks, but don't underestimate the 10 years prior that enabled us to do that. Like, that was a lot of work. It was the 3rd week of that Silicon Valley Bank actually collapsed, so we were a bit worried whether that was going to impact things. As it turned out, it didn't. At the end of the day, I think the better answer to your question that I would say, and this is true for all founders in the room, if you are the right business, with the right team, at the right time, there will always be capital available. Like, we live in basically one of the most wealthy nations in the world. We live in a city that has the most made self-millionaires per capita in the world. There is always money available. Now, as a founder, there might be different valuation metrics that are looked at based on market conditions, but we have our money, we have to invest, and we're measured on how quickly we're investing. So, and that's true of all venture funds, irrespective of what they're saying. If they're like, oh, we're just sitting on things at the moment, it's like they have to get that money out the door. So, right company, right time, right market, there will be money. Yeah.
What I would just add to that, though, which we found over and over again, and Derek hinted at, is pretty much everybody who invested in our fund, it was relationship-based. So if the best bit of advice we can give to you as founders, don't make the first time someone meets you is when you're asking them for money. Go on the journey with them. Even just say, hey, this is a company I'm growing. Your fund is interesting to me. I'd love to take you on the journey of us growing towards when we're going to have our capital raise. Are you okay if I send you a 2-monthly update? Little things like that. They might not be able to have a coffee with you. There's stuff going on, but just start the conversation with them so that by the time they're investing in you, you're already familiar. They already know the company. You've got relationship, because at early stage investing, about 70% of it is the founder. Like, we are investing in you. You know, you've got all these great assumptions of how your business is going to work. So many of them are going to end up being wrong. So we want to know that it's you we're investing in, and that happens on a journey of relationship. And that's even true at the capital raising for a VC fund. You know, almost every person that's invested in our fund, there was relationship.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have to wrap it up here, but thank you so much. Are you guys going to hang around for half an hour? Yeah, cool, awesome. So if you've got more questions, please come and say hello. Who's thinking of applying? Who's going to put the 90-second video together? Okay, cool, nice one. Just spend some time working out what makes a good pitch is my recommendation too. Like, go and read, there's tons of information out there, but yeah, once you look at 20 applications, the novelty soon wears off. So yeah, get your shit together. So we're back in 2 weeks' time. We've got Matt and Jason. They're going to tell you how to get up every day after that massive failure and keep plugging away at this stuff. So please come along. It's going to be a great session. Or check out the live stream, but yeah, come along. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to throw furniture at you as I turn this back into a co-working space, but please help yourself to the food at the back and get to know each other. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, guys.
Sorry about issues with my computer.
I'm not at all.
Oh, man.
You're going to have to work it out for that.